You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast.
Little pigs, let me come in.
Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall.
Not by the hair on your chinny chin chin.
I don't even know how to spell it.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in.
Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall. Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall.
Hello, welcome to
Hello.
the Surgeons of
I'm
Horror
Shelley.
podcast. Its purpose is to dissect and discuss
Hello.
horror films,
I'm
both
Shelley
old
Duvall.
and new.
I'm
This
Shelley
episode, we're going to be looking back at
I'm Shelley.
Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, which was released way back in 1980. It's become a little bit popular lately thanks to its sequel that is just about to hit cinemas at the time of this record, which is called Dr. Sleep, which is also a sequel to the book The Shining by Stephen King, and it was also written by Stephen King. Although, interestingly, the director of that film, Mike Flanagan, has come out when he released the trailer. It definitely visually looks like it's a follow-on from Stanley Kubrick's vision, at least stylistically. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like when that comes out. Until then, we're going to delve into the film prior to that, which obviously, as I said, was Stanley Kubrick's vision.
Here's Johnny.
Before we do so, I should introduce myself. I'm the lead host for the series. My name is Saul Muerte. And joining me to discuss The Shining and the Overlook Hotel and everything that comes in between is Richard Lovegrove.
Here's Dickie.
Hey, Dickie!
Hi there. Yay, thank you so much for bringing me on board for The Shining.
Welcome on board. It's good to have you, sir. Good to have you.
Great that you still had a room available.
Yes, I know. It was surprising. I hope you don't mind room 237. It's one of our most popular choices.
I'm going to have a bath. That's what
Don't mind the old lady in the bath.
I said, oh. Does that cost extra?
Oh, well, it's up to you, really.
Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall. 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 Duvall, ball, ball. Duvall, ball. I'm Shelley Duvall.
We should. I'm so going to throw that in. You know it's.
Hi, Shelley Duvall.
Hi, Shelley Duvall. Look. There's so much to unpack with this movie, and I'm not entirely sure if we're going to be able to do that. To the credit that it deserves.
But we're going to give it our darndest.
We're going to give it our darndest, I tell you,
Yes.
because it is a classic in its own right, and I'll talk about me for a bit, but it's something that as I said, came out in 1980. I was only 2 at the time, so by the time I was aware of its existence, it was fully immersed in the horror genre scene, and so many iconic images had come out of it. I would have watched it, sometime in my teens, I guess, for the first time, and I was simply blown away by the cinematography more than anything that was on offer. That's what really shook me more than the content, it has to be said. Interestingly, as I said, it was based on the book by Stephen King, and there's a lot of differences around it. And supposedly or allegedly, Stephen King turned his nose up at this version that Kubrick put together.
Didn't like it.
I have a real problem with The Shining, and Stanley Kubrick knew that I had a problem with The Shining. I had a discussion with him beforehand. He said, "Stephen, Stanley Kubrick here. Don't you agree that all stories of ghosts are fundamentally optimistic?" I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, if there are ghosts, it means we survive death, and that's fundamentally an optimistic view, isn't it?" And I said, "Well, Mr. Kubrick, what about hell? And there was a long pause on the telephone line, and then he said in a very stiff and very different voice, I don't believe in hell. And I thought to myself, well, that's fine, but some of us do, and some of us believe that ghosts may survive, and that may be hell. And that was sort of where I was coming from with The Shining. But in the novel, The Shining, Jack Torrance is a difficult character, but he's fundamentally a sympathetic character. And I always visualized him as a piece of metal that's bent first one way and the other by these malignant spirits who basically want his son because his son is a psychically powerful person. So I saw these all as warm characters that were being threatened by forces from without, from ghosts, from real supernatural creatures. And the film is extremely cold. Stanley Kubrick saw The Haunting as coming from Jack Torrance, from the Jack Nicholson character, whereas I always saw it from outside. So we had a fundamental difference of opinion about it. I always thought that the real difference between my take on it and Stanley Kubrick's take on it was this. In my novel, the hotel burns. In Kubrick's movie, the hotel freezes. It's a difference between warmth and cold. But the images are striking. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Jack Nicholson's face in the doorway, his bearded, crazy, grinning face. He says, "Here's Johnny," which was his ad lib, and it became, part of the movie. So the images are striking, but to me, that's surface. It's not substance. So I used to describe The Shining, the film, as something like a beautiful car that had no engine in it.
But I came at this watching the film first before the book, even though I pretty much read most of Stephen King's early books anyway, and was massively into it at the time. All his novels and stuff, particularly It, and we've talked about It, and Christine and the like. But weirdly, it was one of those ones, the novels that I hadn't picked up on. I didn't read it until a lot later on, and had definitely watched the movie beforehand. So I kind of went at it in a different way. So when we do kind of unpack this thing, I will kind of refer to what I remember from the book and its comparatives or differences between that and the movie. But I think fundamentally, like we're here to talk about the movie. I know it's based on the book, but like it's such a different style and different vision. It's so removed from what the book was that it's hard. We should probably just focus on what Kubrick's vision was.
But it's the origins as well, like, as in what has started. It's a starting plot that another director has either written a similar story or expanded on certain elements of a story, which even comparing a book to a movie is so hard, because obviously you're going to have to leave stuff out. There's so much more you can pack into a book, in the interpretation of a book. There's so much more, but that's what's good about the two mediums. There are two different universes or worlds or whatever.
Yeah, and I guess that's how I look at it too. Like they're very different, but obviously they're born of the same universe, and so it's kind of and that's how I do look at it. It is like looking at parallel versions of what is the kernel beneath it, and obviously they have the Shining element is
prevalent throughout the,
exactly. Yes, thanks for filling in my words.
It's because we're shining at the moment, so that's why.
We're connecting, man. We're connecting. Do you feel it?
Exactly. Exactly. And for anyone who doesn't know what The Shining is, it's pretty much a psychological connection that people can have, or a sense of the future or the surroundings. Am I right on that?
Yeah, and it shifts in through time, space, and all that comes in between that.
Supernatural elements.
Yeah. So it's kind of like past elements, and some have have a stronger shining than others.
Some people are gifted with it, and some people.
Yeah. And in the film, we get to see two people that have the shining. Obviously, the key one is Danny Torrance, the kid in it, and who. Spoilers. Appears in the sequel, a lot older.
Tony, I'm scared.